19.2. What is source reduction? Source reduction is any change in design, manufacture, purchase, or use of materials or products to reduce their amount of toxicity before they become municipal solid waste. Produce less waste, recycle, change the materials and products that we use. Less waste equals less money for collecting and disposing of it. So less garbage trucks on the road and less gas delivering the garbage to the landfills. Examples: use both sides of a sheet of paper, use reusable bags, don't use unneeded bags, napkins, or utensils at stores and restaurants. How can consumers influence manufacturers? We can influence manufacturers to reduce solid waste by buying products that have less packaging, products that last longer or are reusable. We can encourage manufacturers to produce more of these products. Until about 1965, nearly all beverages sold in bottles were designed to be returned to the store. Examples: dish towels instead of paper towels, rechargeable batteries instead of regular batteries, gallons of water instead of individual bottles. Manufacturers could reduce waste and conserve resources by redesigning products to use less material, make products that last longer, make products that are easily repairable. So if we look here, they have less waste, same taste, less waste. So you got 4 potatoes in a bag and there's no plastic thing at the bottom. So there's less waste to get rid of. How does recycling work? Recycling is reusing materials or recovering valuable materials from waste or scrap. 90% less energy is needed to produce aluminum from recycled aluminum than from ore. It takes 31% less energy to make recycled paper. Making products from recycled materials saves energy, water, and other resources. Steps for recycling are: 1, collect materials, take it to a facility and sort it by type. 2, material must be cleaned and made ready to be used again. 3, materials are used to manufacture new products. 4, products are sold to the consumers. What is composting and what are the benefits? Compost is dark brown, crumbly material that is spread on gardens and fields to enrich the soil. It is rich in nutrients to help plants grow, keeps organic waste out of landfills. Almost 14% of a community's solid waste comes from yard waste. Provides nutrients to the soil, increased beneficial soil organisms such as worms and centipedes. It suppresses some plant diseases, reduces the need for fertilizers and pesticides. Examples are grass clippings, fruit and vegetable trimmings, and table scraps. Non-examples are meat, animal waste, because those can attract pests and carry diseases. You can make your own compost at home if you have a garden. How can we change the materials that we use? Single-serve drink boxes are very hard to recycle because they're composed of foil, cardboard, and plastic. There is no way to easily separate the 3. We can recycle. Newspapers can become egg cartons, cardboard, building materials. Aluminum cans can become new cans, lawn chairs, cookware. Plastic bottles can become non-food containers, insulation, toys, clothing, carpet yarn. What's the problem with plastics? Most plastics are not biodegradable. Photodegradable plastic is made so that when it is left in the sun for many weeks, it becomes weak and brittle and breaks into pieces. Here's an example of photodegradable. Green plastic is made by blending the sugars in plants with special chemical agents to make plastic. They're made from living things and considered to be more environmentally friendly than other plastics. Requires 20 to 50% less fossil fuel. When it's discarded, bacteria in the soil eat the sugars and eventually it breaks into tiny pieces. Animals will eat the tiny plastic pieces, biomagnification. Degradable plastics are not totally biodegradable. They break down into microplastics. What are the 3 R's? Reduce, reuse, recycle. Chapter 19, Lesson 3. What is hazardous waste and how does it affect organisms in the environment? Hazardous waste is any waste that is a risk to the health of humans or other living things, may be solid, liquid, or gas. Paints, batteries, biomedical materials, dyes, cleaners, solvents, PCBs from older electronic equipment such as heating systems and television sets, solvents, lubricants, sealants, toxic heavy metals, pesticides, radioactive waste from spent fuel that was used to generate electricity are all examples of hazardous waste. How do we govern municipal solid waste? Resource Conservation and Recovery Act requires producers of hazardous waste to keep records of how their wastes are handled from the time the wastes are made to the time that the wastes are placed in approved disposal facilities. If the waste causes a problem in the future, the producer of that waste is responsible. What is the Superfund Act? Congress passed the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Composition and Liability Act, aka the Superfund Act. Companies or individuals that produce hazardous wastes may be tempted to dump them illegally to save money. If they are caught, they can be sued and fined in order to get the area cleaned up. How do we manage hazardous waste? Each year, the U.S. produces about 252 million metric tons of hazardous waste. It is difficult to guarantee that the transport and disposal techniques used today will not eventually pollute our air, land, food, and water. We can manage it one way by producing less of it, redesigning manufacturing methods to produce less or no hazardous waste, find a way to recycle or reuse it, treat it to make the waste less hazardous, neutralizing chemicals, bacteria, flowering plants. How do we manage hazardous waste? Most of the hazardous waste produced in the United States is disposed of on land. Deep well injection is wastes are pumped deep into the ground where they are absorbed into the dry layer of rock below the level of groundwater. Surface impoundment, a pond that has a sealed bottom. Waste settle to the bottom, water evaporates, making room for more waste. Concentrated or solid hazardous waste are often put in barrels, transported to other locations, and either stored or buried in landfills. They may develop leaks that may result in contamination of the air, soil, or ground. They also have to put these barrels in an area that is not going to have any seismic activity for earthquakes or any chance of flooding or natural disasters like tornadoes. How do we clean up hazardous waste? Some hazardous waste can be cleaned up, absorbed, or broken down, or their toxicity can be reduced by treating it with biological or chemical agents. This is called remediation. Certain bacteria can clean up crude oil. PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, are man-made chemicals, and cyanide. Some plants can absorb heavy metals. Neutralizing chemicals are used to neutralize and absorb hazardous waste. We can incinerate hazardous waste, which means burn it. We can export hazardous waste to other states or countries, get rid of our mess. They may have better facilities to handle the waste. What hazardous waste do we have in our homes? See the chart in the picture. So some of the common hazardous waste we have are motor oil, pesticides, paints, fertilizers, batteries, cleaners, computers, antifreeze, mobile phones. They must be disposed of properly. You can't just throw them in the trash. Some cities have collection or drop-off sites. Oil disposal sites. Bring to an automobile service station. 1 can or quart of oil can contaminate 1 million gallons of water.